data, which you encouraged us to do.
Yeah, so you would have to, in that scenario, you kind of presented you would have to split it.
Okay.
For that. I mean, it would be sort of for about a 3-month period or so until all your 21, 22 funded people have gone through the system.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem.
And that's really so we can then track people over time and understand what's happened to them, you know, what was a condition when they first presented, and then you know, at the end of what are their outcomes.
Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Jenny. We've got another hand go up, but Sophie, just before I come to you, I'm just going to jump to another question in the chat. Oh, could I just ask as well, someone's got their mic on and we can hear, it sounds like you're potentially doing some dishes. If you wouldn't mind muting yourself, that'd be appreciated. The next question we've got in the chat though is, does the portal have an API? I don't know if that's a Tom question or a Kate question. Oh, you're on mute, Tom.
Sorry, yeah, I started answering, but I think Dan has already answered this. There's no sort of direct API linked with the portal. There's various sort of outputs you can get from it, but yeah, no API, I'm afraid.
Okay, thank you. And then I'll go to Sophie now, if we can, if you want to come in with your question.
I just wanted to check, so have we actually got the data set? Do we know what data we need to collect already, and where do I find that, just so I can start to put those mechanisms in place to start gathering it?
So the detailed guidance, we have created some detailed guidance. The only reason we were a bit cautious about it was we spoke to a few providers on Monday, and we got some feedback of it's a lot of information to understand, but I think we will publish that guidance so that you can see the full range of fields we are looking at. But again, I would advise you to maybe go through some of that guidance that Tom presented and those links first, and then look at that more detailed guidance, and you'll be able to see line by line what data we are expecting in CSDS to do with weight management services. Of course, if you're providing more than weight management services, you will need to complete other fields. So as soon as we've as soon as we've released that information, we will be able to, we'll send out an email to let you know.
And have you got a time frame for that? I'm just, you know, we're a month away from having to start collecting that data. I'm really conscious from my service point of view. I have a tier 2 and a tier 3 service, and for the we're both services, we already have to collect an astonishing amount of data for the commissioners, and then this is going to be additional work on top. So we really need to make sure that we're not duplicating data collection and trying to do it in the most efficient way possible, and the timescale is a little bit short for putting all that together.
Yeah, I completely understand that. Yeah, we'll look to do that as soon as possible, and then we will add to that guidance over time. So what we will be adding is further advice and guidance to try and simplify this as much as possible, because we do recognise that we are asking a lot of you. So yeah, we'll get that released as soon as we can.
All right. Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, Kate. I'm going to jump to the chat again for another question, and then Ruth will come to you because I can see you've got your hand up as well. So the next question from the chat is, could a link be provided or highlighted to any guidance for information governance people? If there's anything specific we can signpost.
Yes, so I've provided a link to the IG guidance, which it's aimed at CSDS as a whole, but they should be really clearly lays out the legal basis, the national opt-out, and then at the bottom of that web page, there's some also suggested text you could use within your guidance to patients, but that could be added to any existing guidance you've got.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I can see in the chat, if anyone wants that, it's at 13:24 this afternoon. Kate's posted the link there, so thank you, Kate. Ruth, can we come to you and your question, please?
Hi, yes, thank you. It's Ruth. I'm from North Yorkshire as well, a colleague of Jenny's who asked an earlier question. Just for confirmation and clarity, really. The process that we've submitted the minimum data set to OHID, as commissioners, we've kind of coordinated that data submission with support from providers, because we've got 6 providers across our county, so we felt it was a better way of doing it. I'm just assuming we can continue that principle for this new system that we'll be submitting data onto as well.
Tommy, you come in here.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to come in. Hopefully, yeah, it's very slow telling me whether I'm muted or not. So yeah, technically that should be fine. It may change slightly in how you do it, because I'm not that familiar with the OHID. But yeah, you can submit on behalf of other organisations. It means that you'd have to be registered as the submitter in that last sort of section of what I was talking about on that DUC form to register to submit the data on behalf of that organisation. But yes, you could.
And a separate submission has to be made for each organisation, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the sort of that would be the awkwardness about it, in that instead of making one big submission, you'd have to make 6 separate ones. But yeah, you would be able to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Tom. So the next question we've got in the chat is, our trust already submits data to CSDS. Will we need to complete a data user certificate for just the weight management data submission?
So I did answer that in the chat. So the short answer is no, unless you need any, unless any new individuals will be submitting that data. But what you need to be aware of is we will take the last good file from that organisation. So you need to make one submission with all of the data in it. So include your weight management service data with the other data. Otherwise, if you make separate submissions, we will only take one of them and therefore be missing data.
Thank you. The next question we've got in the chat is from Ingrid Murray, which is, which tables are being collected for this? So we'll highlight this in the weight management provider specific guidance, won't we? This will be part of that document. Like I said, we'll filter out of the 37 so you see specifically what you need. So again, as soon as we can share that, we will do. See, I've just scrolled through the answers that yourself and Dan have provided to some of the questions. So, question from Cosmo here. Is it possible to find out what organisation has previously submitted the OHID dataset for a service? Neither ourselves or our commissioners are aware of ever submitting this dataset. So what's the...
I don't know whether Paul wants to go in here, but not all services have submitted data yet, have they?
No, correct. I mean, anyone that's receiving the additional grant should be submitting, so it's a condition of the grant, and I think future payments are starting to become dependent on it. But if you kind of drop your details in the chat, we can have a look for you and get back to you.
I've just seen actually Cosmo's raised the hand, so if you want to come in now and actually continue the conversation, that'd be great.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, so we provide, sorry, I'm from Guy's and St Thomas's, so South East London. So we've provided tier 2 and tier 3 services for a while now. But yeah, when we spoke to our commissioning lead in South East London CCG, they weren't aware of ever submitting this, and neither were we. So we're a bit wary, similar to what other people have said, in that this won't actually be a transition for us. This could potentially be a whole new collection for us. So it is quite tricky to know exactly what processes we need to get in place.
So the first bit on the OHID collection, it's only for local authority commission services, so you probably aren't. You probably shouldn't have been submitting. That's why you don't know who is. On the NHS side, it's not really my area, so I don't know if there's anyone else on the call who could pick that one up.
Sorry, I just missed the point.
Well, it's about submission of NHS funded services. So at the moment, they're not going to OHID because they're not local authority funded. So question was that this isn't a change as such. This is a lot of additional work.
Yes, we would still want that information. You can indicate on the return how it's been funded. Did that answer it?
Cosmo, did that give you what you needed for now? I
It
think the
might be
question
easier
was
just to pick it up outside, I think, rather than going over it here with everyone. Yeah.
okay. You've got my contact details because I know we've spoken
Yeah.
previously. So if you want to drop me an email, we can pick this up and arrange a separate call.
Yeah,
Happy
sure
to do
thing.
that.
Thank
Okay,
you.
If it helps, Ryan, just to add in, Guys and St Thomas's are submitting already. They do 2-hour UCR services in CSDS, so they are already making a submission to CSDS. So I could link up with the submitter for that if it helps.
Yeah, that'd be good. I'll have a chat with you after the meeting if that's okay, Dan. Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's have a look. Next question we've got is what service code, table 102, do you want us to map this service to? Is that something that's going to be covered in the provider specific guidance?
Yes, it is covered in the guidance, and I'll go through it briefly now. It will change when version 1.6 of the dataset comes in July. So any data up to the end of June should be submitted against one of two codes. So they're 22 and 28. So 22 is nutrition and dietetics service, and 28 is public health and lifestyle service. And then from July data, we've got a couple of new codes, and they're 55 children's weight management service and 56, which is adult weight management service. But that is all detailed in the guidance, which will get published as soon as possible.
Thank you, Kate. The next question we've had is, I work for an acute hospital foundation trust. Do we have to submit data to the community services dataset?
Yes, for your weight management services. Yeah, that's been the agreed method to get this data submitted. So yes, you will need to.
Thank you. Next question is, will the slide deck be shared? Yes. So a copy of the slide deck, a link to the recording of this session, and any questions that we can't answer during this session we'll include in the pack that we send out afterwards, and we'll send it to all attendees and all people who aren't able to attend today as well. Jeff, I've seen your response. We'll come back to you separately on that one because I think we might need to, the same as we're going to do for Cosmo. I think it needs need to go into a bit more detail there. So we'll come back to you on that one possibly, unless Kate, you wanted to. Yeah,
so that's about data sharing agreements. So at the moment you have a data sharing agreement with OHID to be able to flow this data. The DUC or DUC process that Tom outlined earlier, that replaces that data sharing agreement process. So the DUC form is essentially then the agreement, the legal basis as to you flowing the data to us.
Could I ask then, because I'm an information governance person who's helping colleagues in North Tyneside, would it be possible, whether it's our signed copy or not, but would it be possible for a copy of that to be shared? Because I don't think I personally have seen that.
All right. So the actual DUC form, you'll be able to.
Or where I can access it from.
Yeah,
whatever.
it's a form you fill in. You'll be able to get that from the links from what Tom shared earlier. Okay. It's quite a simple form. It's more about, I suppose
No, my colleague's just saying she's got a copy of it because she's on the call as well. She is.
It's more, I suppose, some of the legal basis around the flowing of CSDS is actually NHS Digital have been directed to collect this information from providers, and then there's what is called a data provision note, DPN, which is then issued, which is then that condition that providers, if you're delivering these services, you should submit data to CSDS. So that's the legal basis. And then the DUC form is the agreement that the individuals within providers can submit and then see that data through the web portal. and then we will register them and sign them up.
Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Jeff. The next question we've got in the chat is to do our DPIAs, etc. Again, we need to urgently know all the information that the dataset on the datasets that we need. So we know you've said soon, but are we able to give any sort of timescales on that? That was a question from Shirley. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we've answered that since, as soon as possible. Yeah. I would hope that we should be able to do that within the next week, if not earlier.
Next question we've got is from Sally Hone, which is, have local authorities been informed what their 22-23 allocation is yet?
Ryan, do you want me to jump in on that one? Sorry.
Is that okay?
Hi.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. No worries. Hi, everyone. Some of you might know me. I'm Deirdre McCarthy from the National OHID team. And just to say, no, not yet. So the grant hasn't been, the details of the grant haven't been launched yet. So we're working really closely with colleagues within policy side of the adult weight management team, and then the grants team within the Department for Levelling Up, the new HML CLG, which I can't remember the full name of, but the that we will inform you as soon as possible. But I'm sorry I can't give any further detail of that one at the moment. But where it is being worked on as we speak, literally. Thanks.
Thanks, Deirdre. We've had a couple of comments around it's difficult to plan without knowing what data is required. So again, that ties in with us sharing the provider relevant guidance. We'll do that as soon as we can. So thank you for those comments.
Just as a minimum on that, what we've done is we've mapped what is currently being submitted to the OHID minimum data set, and then map that to items in CSDS. So that gives you a good idea of what you are currently submitting will still be required within CSDS. It's just there are additional possible fields in CSDS as well.
Thanks, Kate. Sophie, I saw your hand go up. Was it a question relating to this topic, or was it a new question?
No, it's still relating to this topic,
Yeah,
and it was just again about the data set. And I know you're not sure what it is, but I'm just with the. Do you know if there's any expectation that we'll have to submit weights and percentage weight loss? Just because we're still, doing essentially all telehealth, where we don't necessarily get that accurate information, and I'm just wondering how that is going to impact on the data set, and if that had actually been thought of in the data that's being required.
Are you able to respond to that one, Kate?
So there is, you can submit weight. It's not
Okay.
Go on.
So yes, you would submit the weights. I think the question is around. I think it's more around the fact that service participant is measuring themselves, weighing themselves. So there'll be a way to identify that it's a self-reported weight within the data set.
But a lot of our tier 3 patients aren't able to weigh themselves because of scales limits.
Right. Okay.
So we wouldn't be able to gather that data, and particularly for like patients who are housebound, we don't have that option to actually be able to weigh them.
I don't know the answer. We'll have to have a think about that. I mean, the whole, some of the metrics are, they're there to see how the outcomes from the service from a weight perspective. So obviously that requires the weight. Can we take that one away and get back to you on that one?
Yeah, I definitely think that warrants further consideration. I'm sure I'm not unique in it, especially in a service that's designed to put people through to bariatric surgery, that you're not able to actually get that weight data. And I think certainly from my local authority perspective, there is a big move away from actually recording weight, and that's been a difficulty that we've had within the tier 2 service that we do report into OHID for. But actually they really want us to move away from weight and moving away from weight stigma, and so this is kind of flying in the face of that, really. So yes, there's some definitely challenges around using weight as that marker in services that are dealing with people who are morbidly obese.
Yeah.
Great, thanks for that. Appreciate it. So the I can see we've got Nicola. You've got your hand up. Is it on the same subject? Did you want to come in as well? Oh, sorry, Nicola. You're very quiet. We can't hear you very well.
My
There you
things up. Sorry. I work for OHID in Yorkshire and Humber, and I was actually on a call with our local authority leads this morning around some of the issues around recording outcomes for people with learning disabilities and people with serious mental illness. So actually it is in that same vein of they might not lose that 5% of weight, but actually are there other measures that we can use to prove to support the engagement of them in that weight management journey, bearing in mind that we do want to reduce those inequalities. So I'm quite happy to have a more detailed conversation offline about this, but I just think if we're looking at what we're collecting, that would be something to throw into the mix.
That's great. Thank you, Nicola. Appreciate that. I'm just conscious of the time, so we've got just under 10 minutes left. So I can see we've got another hand up. Let's see, it's Rachel Skinner. If you wanted to come in with your question, or is it on the same subject as well?
Well, similar.
Okay.
My name's Rachel. I'm Community Dietetics Manager at Newcastle Hospital. So we've got a partial Tier 3 service, dietetics and psychology. We've put in a proposal for some expansion money, which I guess has led to us being invited today, but I don't think we've got the team resource really to collect a lot of data at the moment. So, and it's going to take a while if we do get money to develop our team into a full service. So, you know, what are the expectations around that? You know, can we sort of hold off starting this until we're in a better position, and we've got that full MDT and full pathway? Does that make sense?
So we will support you as much as possible to submit the data. Where you've been funded for the data is expected that it is submitted, but we can talk to you individually to support you to put in place systems to be able to do it, and when you'd be able to do that.
Okay, thank you, Kate.
Thank you. So the next hand I can see up, we've got Lucy Shorthouse as well.
Hi, yeah, I'm in a similar position. So we were an acute trust that does a partial Tier 3 service, which is mainly to prepare people for the Tier 4 weight surgery. So I guess it's, you know, are we still under the same remit that we've got to supply this data, even though it's not a full Tier 3 service?
I need to, so I'm not fully aware of the ins and outs, and the right person isn't on the call today. So we'll get back, we'll provide an answer when, so following this call, we're able to write up all the Q&As, and we'll make sure that we've responded to all the questions, because I know we won't get through them all today, but we'll come back to you on the official position about that.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's all the questions from hands being raised. There's still a few more in the chat, and as Kate said, time is against us this afternoon, unfortunately, so we're not going to get answers to absolutely everything on the call. Let's see if we can get through maybe one or two more. We had a question about, so there's the question about participant consent. So I saw someone saying they were a clinician, and do they need to get in touch with their 600 or so contacts? I'll read it out to the group. So we've got, I'm a clinician, so may not understand everything here, but our patients won't have consented to their identifiable data being used in this way. Are we expected to contact all 600 plus people to gain consent before April?
No. So I have provided an answer to this, and it's outlined in the IG guidance page I've provided, but because the legal basis means that we've issued the data provision notice, so that under section 259 of the Health and Social Care Act sets aside the common law duty of confidence in respect of this data. However, you as providers, you may exclude records yourself if it is subject to any other restriction on disclosure or such as by other laws. So you need to be clear on that yourself. And patients do also have the right to set a national opt-out. So that's a national dataset opt-out preference. And that means the data will still flow to NHS Digital, and we will still release it within aggregate reports where you can't identify anyone. But it means that any other onward flow of that data from NHS Digital can be prevented if the patient has completed a national dataset opt-out.
Thanks, Kate. Hopefully that helps answer that query for, I think it was Carolyn asked that question. I think we've probably got time for one more question, so I'll just do this one quite quickly. It's been asked, the old system, it takes a while before you can confirm that the submission's been approved. On the new system, how long will it take to be confirmed that there are no errors?
So on the new system, it's more of a automated process. So when you submit the data, there's processing involved, and they'll process your file and then give you a report back. It's not immediate, and I don't actually know, is it within about an hour or so?
Yeah, sorry, it's Tom here. Yeah, it can vary a bit. It does vary depending on how much data is being submitted at the same time. And if you're unlucky and you're submitting at the same time as 20 other people, it can take time. But yeah, so usually it's within an hour or so that you should be able to get some form of feedback. And then we will do a lot more on how to use the feedback reports that you get to understand why records are being rejected or why warnings are coming up when the data is submitted.
Yeah, hours are fine. It's just that on the old system, it could be days and days. And then I have to look what's wrong and change it. That's all.
If it's more than a day, then there's something wrong, and that gets escalated to our National Service Desk, who can resolve those.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Shirley. And so some of what Tom's mentioned just there is what we're going to dig into in the next session, you know, when we talk about how you're submitting, how you're processing your data, how you're looking at the responses that you're getting from these validation reports and understanding the warnings and the error messages, so you know what to do, how to fix certain problems. So that's what we're going to dig into when we meet again on the 16th for those of you who are going to attend that session. So we've only got a couple of minutes left, so we won't take any more questions now, but we will. I'm conscious that there are quite a few questions in the chat. If you haven't had a chance to raise your hand today, please do pop it in the chat, and we're going to go through after this session, pull together everything and provide answers to those questions, and we'll circulate them to the group off the back of this meeting. As I said, we'll also get a copy of this recording hosted online. We'll include a copy of the slide deck as well, so you've got those there for reference. If you haven't booked on to any of the future sessions, so the next session on the 16th, the more technical one, there's details in the slide deck. We can also share the links again to that. And then after that, it'll be another 2 weeks. There's a session at the end of March on the 30th, which will be a bit of a hybrid session. So it'll be along the lines of what we've done this afternoon, a bit of an overview, but again, we'll dip into some of the technical elements if we need to focus on anything that comes out of that. And we'll use the session on the 16th as well to look and see where the demand is in terms of your questions. So if you want us to focus on particular areas, we'll try and do that at the session on the 30th. And then during April and May, we'll have the drop-in sessions on a fortnightly basis. So you can come along once you've had a chance to read through materials, ask your questions, and then we'll have another sort of deep dive technical session at the end of May, which will focus on what does the process look like if you're using version 1.6 of CSDS as opposed to the first session in a couple of weeks, which is version 1.5. So we'll leave it there. Thank you again for your time this afternoon, much appreciated. If there's anything we can do to help in the meantime, do let us know. Use the chat, or you can get in touch with myself or the team to ask any sort of follow-up queries, or if you need to book onto sessions, let us know, and we'll do our best to help you and support you over the coming weeks and months. But thanks a lot, and we'll catch up with you soon.